The music inside the grand hotel ballroom kept playing, smooth and elegant, but something far heavier than silence fell the moment a janitor stepped onto the polished floor with a disabled girl in his arms. In a place built for wealth, status, and quiet judgments, his worn shoes and faded uniform did not belong, neither did the way his hands trembled, not from fear, but from hope. He did not know that from the balcony above, behind a curtain of glass and power, a billionaire mother was watching every single step he took. Before this moment, life had already taught Daniel Reyes how invisible a man could become. A single father, widowed young, he worked night shifts as a janitor to raise his son and survive in a city that rarely noticed kindness unless it wore a suit. His days were quiet and heavy, filled with mops, echoes, and memories of a life he never planned to live alone. Still, he carried himself with a quiet dignity because somewhere at home, a small boy believed his father was the strongest man alive. That belief was the only thing that kept Daniel upright on nights when exhaustion bent his spine and grief pressed into his chest. If you believe stories of kindness and second chances still matter in a world that often looks the other way, take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that may be quietly breaking. The night of the gala was supposed to be just another shift. The hotel shimmered with crystal lights and wealth, so thick it almost smelled metallic. Daniel moved silently along the edges, cleaning spilled champagne and forgotten napkins, careful not to interrupt the world of people who had never learned his name. That was when he noticed the girl sitting alone near the edge of the ballroom. She was in a wheelchair, her legs still, her hands folded carefully in her lap. She wore a simple blue dress that looked chosen with love, not money. Her eyes followed the dancers, not with envy, but with a soft sadness that felt heavier than the marble floor beneath them. Daniel did not know her story, but he recognized the look. It was the same look his son wore when he watched other children run while he sat on the sidelines, too shy to join. The look of wanting without expecting. Something inside Daniel stirred, a quiet rebellion against the invisible rules that said people like him should stay in their place. He finished his task, hesitated, and then did the unthinkable. He approached her, not as a janitor or a servant, but as a human being who saw another human being hurting. The music swelled, and for a brief moment, Daniel forgot the cameras, the guests, the silent judgments waiting to strike. He asked her not with words meant to impress, but with a gentle sincerity that felt like safety. He offered her a dance, not to fix her world, not to make a scene, but to let her feel included in it. When she nodded, a fragile smile breaking through her hesitation, Daniel lifted her carefully, as if she were something precious the world had neglected. As he moved slowly across the floor, guiding her with awkward, imperfect steps, whispers rippled through the room. Some faces frowned, some turned away, others watched with curiosity sharpened by disbelief. Daniel felt every stare like a weight, but he did not stop. He focused on the girl's expression as her fear melted into joy, as her laughter escaped in quiet bursts she tried to contain. In that moment, the ballroom no longer belonged to billionaires or elites. It belonged to a janitor and a girl who had been told too many times that life was something to watch, not touch. What Daniel did not know was that high above, behind the glass of a private balcony, a woman stood frozen. Eleanor Whitmore, one of the wealthiest women in the country, had built an empire from steel nerves and sharper instincts. She was used to controlling rooms without stepping inside them. But tonight, control slipped through her fingers as she watched a stranger give her daughter something money never could. Eleanor had spent years protecting her child with walls of wealth, doctors, and security. Yet she had never noticed how lonely protection could feel. As Daniel danced, memories flooded Eleanor's mind. Missed moments, hurried good nights, the way her daughter's smile had dimmed as her world grew smaller. No boardroom victory had ever made her chest ache like this. She watched the janitor's careful steps, the respect in his posture, the way he never once looked at the crowd, only at the girl he was carrying. It was not pity, it was presence, and it shattered something Elinor had built brick by brick around her heart. The music ended softly, and applause rose, hesitant at first, then louder, carried by something unexpected: shame, admiration, and realization colliding in the same space. Daniel gently returned the girl to her chair, nodding politely, already preparing himself for consequences. People like him learned early that kindness often came with a cost. Security guards shifted. Guests whispered. Daniel straightened his uniform, ready to be escorted out, fired, or worse. Instead, the room changed. Elinor descended the stairs, her heels echoing like punctuation marks in a sentence no one had expected to read. The crowd parted instinctively. Power always made space for itself. She stopped in front of Daniel, and for a long second, he could not meet her eyes. He saw his job disappearing, his son's face flashing in his mind. But what he did not see was the gratitude trembling behind her composure. Elinor did not see a janitor. She saw a father. She saw a man who understood that dignity did not come from status, but from action. In that moment, wealth felt small, and humanity felt enormous. Her daughter reached out, gripping Daniel's sleeve gently, as if afraid the moment might disappear if she let go. Something inside Elinor finally broke open. From that night on, Daniel's life began to change, not in the sudden, magical way stories often promise, but in steady, meaningful steps. Elinor ensured he kept his job, then offered him something more, not charity, but opportunity. Education for his son, a safer schedule, a chance to breathe. But the greatest change was not financial. It was the way Daniel began to see himself, not as invisible, not as replaceable, but as someone whose kindness carried weight. The girl, once a quiet observer of life, became brighter, braver. She spoke more, laughed louder, asked to attend events instead of watching them on screens. She remembered the man who danced with her not because he was told to, but because he wanted to. And Daniel, returning to his routines, carried the memory like a light in his chest, proof that even one small act could ripple outward into places he would never fully see. Just before the story ends, take a moment and comment the word kindness if you believe small acts can change lives more than power ever could. Near the end of the year, Daniel stood once again in the same ballroom, this time invited, not unnoticed. He watched his son run freely across the floor, laughing, unafraid. Elinor stood nearby, quieter now, changed in ways no headline could capture. The music played again, but Daniel did not need to dance to feel its meaning. He had already moved through the world in the most important way, by choosing compassion when no one was watching. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness still matters in quiet places and ordinary people, please like, share, and comment on this video. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive, reminding the world that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply ask someone to dance.